Aleksandr Karelin, who's the scariest fucking wrestler of all time. Like, if anybody says, like, who's the scariest wrestler of all time, it's Karelin. They used to call him the Experiment because his parents were, like, normal size, like, kind of tiny, like 5'7". And he's a fucking panther, like a human panther. 6'2", 300 pounds. And you know what his move is?
Yikes. He
throws people around. He picks them up and beats them with the earth. He's the most terrifying wrestler ever because he would just hoist them up in the air. And look at that picture. See that picture? Right. I have that picture framed on metal, printed on metal in the gym, just to remind me of what a pussy I am. You should always know that dudes like that have existed and probably still exist today.
Okay, so
he was fucking terrifying.
Let's play the football game of can I get a yard? You go in with this
Zero
guy.
chance.
No,
Zero
not
chance.
winning. How long can you last?
I'd have to run away. It would just be until he catches me.
Okay.
I would have to run away, and I probably wouldn't be able to run away. He's faster than me. He's big and fast.
Right.
The thing about Karelin was he was 300 pounds, but he moved like a cat. He had crazy flexibility, like ridiculous flexibility and mobility. He did all these mobility drills. Like, if you watch his workouts, they were extraordinary. Because, like, he's doing a lot of things like shield casts with giant steel plates. So he's doing a lot of this shit. So it's like rotational muscles. His ability to manipulate things in awkward positions was off the charts. It was all like heavy kettlebell work. Wow. That guy was a freak. And his mobility, he would show all these mobility drills and different things. Like, look what he's doing.
Oh, my goodness.
Look at this. I mean, this is a fucking Olympic gold medalist wrestler.
What era is this? 80s?
I think his last wrestling matches were around, I want to say before 2000, because he did have offers. He had like one Fugazi MMA fight. It was like a fake MMA fight because they did a few of those in Japan. They had a weird sort of symbiosis with pro wrestling and MMA, and so there was MMA fights in Japan that are allegedly fixed, and they look fixed. You watch them, you're going, get the fuck out of here. Like, it's like you see like a fake tap. You see like someone giving their arm up or something. There was some of that going on. And so it seems like he got involved in one of those where they gave him a shit ton of money and they said, come over here. It's kind of pro wrestling, but kind of not. We'll say it's an MMA fight. It's one of those deals. But if he did fight MMA, everyone would be fucked. Everyone.
Wow.
Everyone would be fucked. And if you figured out how to strike, oh my Jesus.
You know, I'm not sure if we've talked about this before, but the precursor of MMA, I had that conversation with my brother, the judo guy, because we would go out to nightclubs and he's very, very small guy, probably 5'3", but built like a pit bull. And he'd kind of interact with the world as though he's 6'8", the bouncers and so on. And I once asked him, do you think you can take these guys? And he said, if I can get them, like if they knock me out before I get to them, then they knock me out. But if I get them and I can bring them down, then they're dead. And I think from my very, very limited knowledge of MMA, the guys who usually win are precisely those guys who can do exactly what he said, right?
Yeah, sort of. But kind of everybody knows how to defend that now. It's just how well can you defend and how good of a striker is that wrestler. Because there's this gentleman who's coming up on the scene right now. His name's Bo Nickel. And he's an elite, like, blue chip wrestler. Like, elite wrestler. Like, Olympic caliber wrestler. And now he's competing in MMA. And his last fight was a first-round knockout with his hands. And he showed that he's got sick boxing skills, too, which is the most terrifying thing. When you got a guy who's above and beyond you in grappling. Like, once he gets a hold of you, you're Fucksville. There's no way. You have fucking one-way ticket to Fucksville. He's going to slam you to the ground. He's going to control you. He's going to beat your ass. They're just too good at wrestling.
Right.
And then also he can fuck you up standing. That's where it gets really dangerous. So if a guy like Karelin learned how to stand up, that would have been the end. Because there's certain freaks that, like, you just, like, athletic freaks. You're just like, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that?
So in the MMA, in the history of the MMA, is there someone that is akin to Messi in terms of like a Michael Jordan or a Messi in the MMA?
There's a few. There's a few that are in that conversation. I think the number one consensus greatest of all time is John Jones. Because John Jones just went up and easily won the heavyweight title with a first round submission. Easily. Just took the guy down, strangled him quick. And the way he did it was like so extraordinary. His control of distance, his management of the space, like the way he set it up. It's really tough to argue that he's not the greatest of all time. Undefeated as a light heavyweight, had one defeat that was a disqualification that's 100% bullshit. He was on top of this guy, smashing him, beating the fuck out of him. But they said that he did 12-6 elbows, which are the dumbest fucking ever rule in MMA. Because what if it's 12:05? What if it's 12:05?
Sorry, what does that mean? I don't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
From the position on the clock.
Okay.
An elbow straight down is illegal.
Oh, I see.
Doesn't make any sense.
You have to do it sideways. How do you do it?
You do it at an angle.
Okay.
But it's literally because the athletic commissions that were sanctioning MMA initially, they said, we've seen those things on ESPN where people break bricks with their elbows. You can't do that. It's too dangerous. So you can't do that on the ground. You can't even do it standing up, I don't believe. I think if someone comes straight at you and tomahawk elbows you, I believe that's illegal. I'm not sure about that. But on the ground, it's most certainly illegal. And it's the dumbest rule. It doesn't make any sense. A regular elbow is just as hard. An elbow like this is just as hard. It might be more hard because you can kind of get more of your shoulder into it, where this might be a more awkward move that, I'm not the best at this, but I would think that this is not as good as this. This seems like I'm getting a lot of weight into that. I'm getting the torque off my hips. This, I'm kind of coming up and down.
Right.
I feel like I have more ability to generate force going sideways, going into it like that. So I think if you measured it, I bet this elbow is stronger for like the elite fighters. So it's not a matter of like whether or not it makes sense. It's a dumb rule. And
so
that's the only time he ever lost.
He got
disqualified. It's the only time he ever lost. Other than that, like he's like at certain point in times in his career, he was like playing with his food. Like he let fights go on too long where he's like almost disinterested and engaged. Like he wanted to try standing up with guys who were supposedly great strikers. Just decided not to try to take people down. Just tried to do whatever the fuck he wanted to do because he's so much better than everybody. He was getting bored. Wow. And then when he has like big challenges like this second Daniel Cormier fight, he stopped Cormier with a head kick. Like, jeez, he's so fucking good. He's beaten so many people, and the way he beat them. He fought Lyoto Machida, and it's one of the most cold-blooded finishes in the history of the sport. He has Machida, and he grabs him at the cage, presses him against the cage, and gets him in this perfect power guillotine, puts him to sleep, and then drops him and walks away.